What's going on, champions? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are doing well today. So right now, the biggest question that millions of Americans are asking is, how high will inflation continue to rise in 2022? Are we going to see a decline in the price of goods and services? Like, what exactly is going to happen with this insane increase in the price of goods and services? And if you are not asking this question right now, you should be concerned, because this is a major concern, not just for the people, but the government as well is worried about inflation. Right? They've talked about certain measures and what they're planning to do in order to attack inflation, but is that enough? In today's video, we're going to go through the major impacts and what we're seeing now when it comes, from the major impacts from inflation and what we're seeing when it comes to the forecasted figure, the forecasted inflation rate in 2022. And also, what experts are saying, the people who really understand the economy and the financial system are saying when it comes to inflation and how you can protect yourself, right? We'll talk about some tips that the ultra wealthy and the financial savvy are using to protect themselves against inflation. So these are very major topics, very major subjects, and also delicate to some extent, but we have to talk about it, right? Here's a question that the Financial Times posed in their recent publication. Will the U.S. consumer price inflation hit another 40-year high? So we did see a few months ago that the inflation rate hit the highest in 40 years. But are we going to see another record that will be set when it comes to the inflation rate? So you got to stay posted and find out what people are talking about, experts are talking about when it comes to inflation. But before we dive in, if this is your first time stopping by this channel, welcome. Consider subscribing now to join this amazing community to stay informed on the latest tips for your financial wellness and success. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and share with other people to help them get this information quicker. Thank you. So let's jump right into it. According to the Federal Reserve, so this is a very a high level definition, or maybe a very good definition of the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, for those of you who do not understand what the CPI tracks. So the Consumer Price Index is based on the prices of goods and services, and things like food, clothing, shelter, fuels, transportation fares, service fees, and sales tax. So according to this report, prices are collected monthly from about 4,000 units and approximately 26,000 retail establishments across 87 urban areas. So in order for them to calculate the inflation index, the consumer price index, to get the inflation rate, they'd have to go through and collect prices from 4,000 households, and also 26,000 retail establishments. So that's a good sample that can give a clear indication of where things are headed, just so you guys get the background of how these rates you hear about when they say inflation is at 6%, 5% and whatnot. That's how these numbers are calculated. Okay, and there's more to that, but just a higher level definition there. So right now, according to Bloomberg, this is what the experts at Bloomberg are saying. They're saying that the U.S. inflation rate is probably going to spike again. So this is scary to some extent and something of concern. But the reason for this video is not to put you into panic mode. It's to get you prepared and inform you on what the experts are saying, and bring some tips that you can put into action to protect yourself against some of these movements that we're seeing in the economy. So right now, according to Bloomberg, right, this is not just particular to the US. This is happening across the world, right? But again, being US citizens and being people who reside in the US, you got to be concerned about the price of goods and services. You've got everything from housing to gas, to, clothing. Everything is on the increase. Even food is on the increase, right? So again, when you've got the basic necessities of life just steadily increasing, that's a major concern for a lot of people. And if you are not concerned, again, you have to be concerned, and you have to pay attention and understand how you can help mitigate this in your financial life. So let's just take a quick look at what the other countries around are facing, right? Like I say, this is not peculiar to the US. According to reports out there, Mexico ended 2021 with an inflation rate at 7.36. And this is the most they've seen in 20 years. So that's the inflation rate in Mexico. Now we have another country, Turkey. So Turkey basically have seen the highest levels of inflation. They're right at 20% according to several reports. So the inflation rate is the highest in decades. The reason I'm bringing this is just for you to get a full perspective and see what other countries are experiencing. And you've got countries like Venezuela who are at a 686.4% inflation. So this is crazy. I mean, numbers like this are, really scary, but I'm just trying to put things in perspective. So when we talk about the inflation rate in the US, people who are not in tune with what's happening worldwide will understand where the US falls amongst other countries. So that's exactly, what we're seeing right now across several countries. But down to the US forecast. According to reports, this report from Bloomberg, the consumer price index on Wednesday is forecast to rise 7.0%, so 7%. That's the forecast, right? The forecast right now is that we're going to see a 7% inflation, consumer price index. In December, or a few weeks ago, last month or 2 months ago, we did see that number take up, and we did set the record for 40 years, and that was at 6.8%. But right now, that number is going up even more and may continue to climb, according to this report. So it says it might continue to climb 0.4% from a month earlier. So this is very interesting, right? And according to this report, this same report did state from Bloomberg, did state that another Labor Department report is projected to show prices paid to producers increasing by nearly 10% in 2021. So again, this is kind of where we stand when it comes to the numbers of inflation. But when it comes down to it, this is the interesting one here for those of you who have money in the bank. So if you've got money in the bank right now, you got to pay attention, because according to a report from Quartz, Americans will be forced to draw down their savings in 2022. So basically, the rise in the cost of goods and services, or the price of goods and services, will force people, the average American, to draw down their savings. This report says in 2022, Americans are going to be dipping into their savings. So you're going to be, pretty much, putting, I don't know, this just doesn't sound very good to me, but you're going to be dipping into your savings as the pandemic-related supports from Congress and the Federal Reserve winds down. So the Federal Reserve, the government has basically come out and said, hey, look, we're going to be cutting down some of the stimulus that we've, used to boost the economy. And people are going to see that impact. And one of the first or the major impacts that you're going to see will be you having to tap into your savings. So just keep that in mind, just so you stay informed. And it's already happening. According to this report, as of November, workers were putting away less money from their wages into their savings compared to what they were saving pre-pandemic. So it's crazy. But anyways, let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. I really want to get into you guys' mind and just kind of understand what you guys are thinking. So let us know in the comment section below. And when it comes down to what you can do right now, or what the wealthy, the ultra wealthy are doing to protect themselves, or how they are investing, just wanted to give you a quick tip from this report from CNBC. So according to this report from Select, it did say that the ultra wealthy, one of the very first points that they made here, which I think makes a whole lot of sense, and I will leave the link to this in in the the description section below. The ultra wealthy, the financial the people who are really financially inclined, or those who are financially savvy, are basically building inflation resistant portfolios. So you got to position yourself to where you put your money is inflation proof, or basically protects you better against inflation. And this report did give some tips as to, or some pointers as to where you can allocate your money right now to protect yourself against inflation. And some of the typical ones, or some of the points that were made here, include investments in things like real estate. And when it comes down to real estate, the asset classes that were suggested here includes multifamily apartment buildings and industrial properties. So again, when it comes to real estate, the key here is to put your money into things that will that will keep up with inflation, to where when price of goods and services rise, like things like rent. When rent prices rise, if you are invested in real estate, chances are that you will not feel the impact as much. That's what we've seen so far according to this report. And then things like public equities or stock. Again, this is not an investment advice. These are just tips and information, bringing you educational insights that you could implement to help yourself and just see what experts are saying. And it did call out cryptocurrencies, but again, we've seen several reports on Bitcoin, and one of the biggest reports that we're seeing from Cointelegraph is when you talk about using cryptocurrency like Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation, is it an effective hedge? That's the question that I've been asking, and I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. But right now, there seems to be a warning against the U.S. Federal Reserve's intention to tighten its purchase or its asset purchasing program rapidly, and that's what we've talked about. They are winding down on purchasing assets. But again, will Bitcoin crash, and will the higher inflation shrink Bitcoin down to 30K? That's a whole different conversation. But just for people who have been touting Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation, I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But it might be a little too early to make those calls that Bitcoin is the real hedge against inflation. But again, in the meantime, I feel like you can always put your money in those places where the rich and the ultra wealthy are putting their money in. And this report right here seems to highlight some good examples for you. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. How has inflation affected you, and what are your thoughts on the topic so far? Again, thank you for watching. See you in the next video. And if you have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button now. Thanks, stay safe, and keep winning.